So a little over 9 years ago, my family and I made the move to Charleston, South Carolina without really knowing too much about the city or the area. I mean, we did our due diligence and research initially, but there wasn't like YouTube videos of how amazing it is to live here or how not great it is to live here. So I have compiled a list of 7 things that I wish I would have known before making the move. And if you're thinking of making the move with maybe your family or by yourself, you might want to know these 7 things as well. And I'll tell you what, number 7 drove me crazy. Oh, come on! Number 1 thing is the weather. Now, growing up in New York, I was used to very cold winters and barely hot summers. Maybe you got 2 months in there where it's really hot. But while moving down to Charleston, I found that we have very mild winters and very hot and humid summers. Because when I grew up north, I didn't really take too kindly to the heat. I sweat a lot, I'm a bigger guy.
I'm bigger than you are.
Our hottest months around here are usually July through September, but even in June, it's still getting pretty hot. And that's when our heat index pushes it into the hundreds. So yes, you can go to the beach, you can cool off, but for me, if I look outside when it's that hot, I mean, I start to sweat just thinking about it. So you can generally find me in shorts and short sleeves pretty much from April through October. All right, number 2 on my list are the bugs. Yes, I know there are bugs everywhere, and a lot of people talk about the mosquitoes here in Charleston. I'm not gonna waste your time with that, okay? That's because I'm gonna say, yes, there are a lot of mosquitoes, but we're low-lying with a lot of standing water, and I think that's worse than the mosquitoes, what we call no-see-ums.
What did you just say?
They are biting gnats and they swarm around you, and bug spray does absolutely nothing for them. But one little tip is you can use different moisturizing lotions and things like that to keep the no-see-ums away. There have been times where I've been down by the water and with friends and stuff like that, and we just get eaten alive by the gnats. I mean, it's pretty bad. This is why most people have screened-in porches down here. It's a way to get around all year long, especially if the bugs are bothering you. But just be aware of them. Dawn to dusk, they're usually the worst. But it's not just these small flying insects. We have palmetto bugs, they're huge. Palmetto bugs are a fancy term for flying cockroaches.
That's gross.
And they're everywhere. You're going to see them in your house, you're gonna see them outside. Generally, if you see one in your house, it's going to be pretty big. It doesn't necessarily mean you have an infestation and you need to freak out and clean everything. One may just have gotten into your house. If you see them over and over again, then it's time to call your pest guy because you've probably got an infestation. And then it gets really bad. They are everywhere, inside and out, so just have to get used to them between the gnats, the palmetto bugs. You just get used to it. The mosquitoes. All right, number 3 is the allergies, something I'm experiencing today. Now, I don't think Charleston would cause me to have these allergies per se. I think it just happens to be the area with all the pine trees, the pollen. You just become allergic throughout life to certain stuff, but I'll tell you what, the pollen game here is strong. I was not prepared for pollen season. It's where you get this thick layer of yellow, gross stuff that just sticks to your car. And I'll tell you what, it's like 2 weeks, it's awful. You thought you were like, hey, I'm gonna go outside. I owned a white car, I now own a yellow car. It's ridiculous. You go one day, everything is fine. You wake up the next day and everything's yellow. Your car is yellow, your street is yellow. When it rains, the water washes down the street yellow because of all the pollen. And it's just not once that it can happen like this. It depends. Some years, everything turns yellow, then it may get cold a bit again, and then it warms up again. And everything starts to bloom all over again. So now we're getting a second round of pollen season. I highly suggest right when you move here, just go to Costco, tell your primary physician you need all the allergy medication you can possibly handle because you are going to want it. Even if you don't have allergies, this pollen season could affect you. There really is no escape from it. Now, next up on our list is hurricane season. This is probably one of the other seasons besides pollen season that freaks everyone out. Being here 9 years, we've had hurricanes come through and it's different experience every time. I've never actually been in the middle of one where it was really, really bad, but being here in Charleston, I've seen them really, really bad. It was a tropical storm more than it was a hurricane, but you have to realize that when they name that storm and it comes up, boy, you could hear of a mandatory evacuation where everybody in Charleston has to evacuate. It just is a reality of living here. So if you're somebody who's like, hey, listen, I don't want to be anywhere near a hurricane, I don't want to be involved in the coastline, flooding, any of that stuff, then this area just may not be for you. But hurricane season here can last 6 months. It goes from June through November. These active times are pretty much August to September when a lot of the big storms do come in, but hurricanes are very scary, they're very big, and I gotta tell you, just have to make plans with your family and friends. If you're gonna stay, have everything ready to stay. If you're going to evacuate, know where and when you're going to evacuate and where you're going. That's most important. All right, number 5 coming up on my list is the people. So when I moved here, I was thinking, okay, everything is going to be great, Southern hospitality, everyone's super nice, super friendly. No. God.
Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh.
Ooh. Okay, so all kidding aside, yes ma'am and yes sir is common here. And well, I was mostly right when I thought, you know, people are gonna be very friendly. But when you meet people out, everyone is super nice for the most part. But when you're researching things online and you're asking those questions in some Facebook groups or even things on like websites, maybe Reddit, man, people will come out and be nasty. And they keep saying things over and over again. And it's just awful. Some of it's like really mean. And I'm like, wow, do you people really live here? Because that's awful. They've probably already been down in the comments of this video.
Get a life.
Some of the things people say is just messed up. And I gotta tell you, when I first mentioned that I grew up in New York, for some reason, people in Charleston were like, go back to New York, Yankee, get out of here.
He's a Yankee.
I got called a Yankee the first couple weeks I lived here. And honestly, I don't understand the hate, but I think it's because some people from New York give other people from New York a bad name. I'm just curious. I want to see how many comments we can get down in the comment section below of how much hate people have for New Yorkers. I honestly don't get it. Please explain it to me. So like, the big joke is to tell everybody, go back to New York, we're full. And
why don't you just go back to New York?
And it's not even a complete sentence, but everyone just wants to tell you that Charleston is full. But do me a favor, don't think that's everyone that is here. When you do meet people, there are so many people that are not from here and extremely friendly. There's a lot of people that aren't from here and extremely not friendly. You're just going to meet those people out there that are keyboard warriors who hide behind their laptops and love to make nasty comments. You just got to ignore them, even down in my comments, because they are everywhere. Now next, we're going to talk about the traffic, and I want to break this up into 3 different sections for you, because I think that there are 3 different things that you should be aware of when we talk about traffic. Coming from New York, traffic is a big deal. Like, people are like, oh, the traffic down there, it's awful. I'm like, well, in comparison, it's really not that bad, folks. We're going to talk about the general traffic, the tourist traffic, and the beach traffic. Now, the general traffic side, you know, let's go back to these mean people online. They all think the traffic here in Charleston is the absolute worst in the country, and they're going to tell you. I'm not saying the traffic is good by any means, but it's not as bad as they make it out to be. It is bad for the size of the city. Yes, I'll agree to that, but it's not like Atlanta. It's not like California. It's not like New York. They make it out to be like LA traffic, and it's not. In rush hour, really, unless there's an accident, you're still moving and you've got places to go. You have other routes you can take. You're not always at a dead stop for hours, and that's what people don't realize. I mean, coming from New York, you can be in traffic for hours. Hell, people don't even realize that you can be on a highway in the middle of a snowstorm and they shut that shit down, they close it off, and you are stuck on that highway. Good luck getting off. You probably have to call a friend who has a snowmobile to come and get your ass off of the highway and then ride behind him to his house so that you can warm up, only to go and get your car the next day when they do reopen the highway.
Joe, thank you.
All right, the next part of this traffic talk is tourist traffic. Now, this is mainly downtown and sometimes headed to the beaches, but we're gonna get into that in just a second. But when you're driving downtown on the peninsula of Charleston, please pay attention, because not only are there tourists driving, right, and they don't know where the hell they're going, they're driving and looking at everything they can possibly see. But these roads are super narrow, usually cobblestones, so sometimes you're caught off guard. They're one ways sometimes, and I've seen so many people go down the wrong way on a one way, and then they get angry, they flip the other person off, it says clearly no turns. Folks, you have to pay attention when you're driving in downtown Charleston, because this is the stuff that happens all the time, and it's extremely unsafe. People have gotten hit by cars, there have been fatal accidents, so you just need to be very, very careful. There's also people walking across the street. Sometimes you get people who are like, hey, I don't wait for lights, so I'm just gonna jaywalk, and those people usually end up getting plowed down by a car. So people will walk out in front of your car without even noticing, because they're looking at all the historic buildings and beautiful scenery we have downtown. You have to remember, they're very tunnel visioned and they're checking out that house or that church. You just need to pay attention, drive slow. You'll get to where you're going, and don't mind them. Just let them go and keep going, because at the end of the day, you don't want to get into an accident and have somebody try and sue you because you hit them in a crosswalk. No bueno.
No. 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 No.
Lastly, the last part of the traffic that I do want to talk about is the beach traffic. Now, the beaches here in Charleston aren't like a lot of other places in the country. Our beaches are on islands, so you can't just say, I'm going to get onto this road and it's going to take me to the beach. There's one road for pretty much each beach that's going to take you in and out, and it is one lane. So one lane in, one lane out. Kind of like, the Thunderdome. One man in, two men in, one man leaves, right?
Two men enter, one man leaves.
Fortunately for me, my kids are little and they wake up at the crack of dawn and they are ready to go to the beach. Like, my daughter's already got her flip-flops on. She is ready. She got her floaties. She's ready to go. She's a 4-year-old. She knows her business. She's like, beach, I'm ready, Daddy, let's go. We are almost at the beach pretty much before people are waking up some days. And I'll tell you what, when it's time for us to leave, that's when everyone else is trying to get to the beach. So if you wait until 10, 11, noon to get down to the beach, plan on sitting in some traffic for significantly longer than you would if you were to get there at 7 or 8 in the morning. I'm not saying get there at 7 or 8. I'm just saying if you get there, you are going to beat a lot of the crowds. And the last thing on my list is the live music scene. I told you this was the one that really stressed me out. I am a huge live music fan. I came from Buffalo. We had the Goo Goo Dolls. I remember seeing the Goo Goo Dolls perform in a hole-in-the-wall bar before they were even huge, and it was one of the best experiences. So I love going to live music shows. I love seeing different bands play. It's probably one of my favorite things about Charleston. They have so many outdoor pubs and restaurants with live music stages. It just really says a lot about the entertainment in Charleston. One of my big favorite things is the bands that do cover songs and things like that. Dan's Tramp Stamps is a big band here, and they do a ton of really fun cover songs. I love to go see them. And they're kind of like one of those bands that if one day they blew up, I could see that and I would be like, yeah, I remember seeing them play down in Park Circle. It's just kind of a cool factor.
And a little bit of chicken fried.
A lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm a huge music fan, but I'm also a huge stand-up comedy fan. So I love seeing live bands and live comedians do their thing. And Charleston has a scene for both. Not only do they have a fantastic music scene, but they have all new places that are up and coming for comedy, stand-up comedy. It's really making a comeback, especially in this area. Since we're getting out of that woke era we've been in a last couple of years, we're starting to see live stand-up comedy coming back, people's feelings getting hurt, that kind of good stuff.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Now, one of my biggest things about being here in Charleston is the local talent. You've got Darius Rucker, who lives here in Charleston, and from time to time, he will just kind of show up at a different bar and maybe start playing one night. It's kind of those impromptu things that happen that keep Charleston really exciting. And I know if you're someone that's like, oh, I don't care about Darius Rucker, there are other artists here, there are other bands, there's other people that are here that have very cool backgrounds of music and storytelling that just make it very exciting to live in an area like this. What did I miss? If you moved here and there's something you wish you would have known, let me know down in the comments. I'm always trying to keep up with folks who have other ideas and other opinions. Let's keep this conversation going. If you're looking to make a move, I would love to chat with you. Hit me up, give me a call. All of my contact information is down below, 843-226-5535. Ryan McHugh, your neighborhood expert. If you want to see available properties now, you have to check out my website, www.buyfromrye.com. I'll be sure to see you next time. Go ahead and check out this video right here if you want to see some more great neighborhoods in Charleston.